I'm Cassandra, 32 years old, standing in the foyer of my stunning three-bedroom lakeside home that I bought entirely on my own. 5 years ago, I was homeless after my parents kicked me out for refusing to hand over my college fund to my golden child brother Adam. Now they've demanded I host his extravagant wedding here. And when I said no, they schemed to ambush me with 150 guests anyway. They had no clue what I'd set in motion to fight back. If you're watching this, drop a comment with where you're from and subscribe to hear how I flipped the script on my family. Growing up in Portland, Oregon wasn't meant to be the emotional war zone it turned into. My parents, Martha and Richard, looked like typical middle-class pros from the outside. Dad was a hospital administrator, rising through the ranks with raw grit and killer networking. Mom hustled in real estate, peddling luxury homes she could only dream of owning, but thrived showing them off to rich buyers. Our family snapped picture-perfect holiday cards, but that facade hit a rotten core. Everything shattered when my brother Adam arrived when I was 3. I was too little to grasp it at first, but as time dragged on, the favoritism hit like a freight train. Adam wasn't just loved, he was idolized. Every milestone, every win, every caprice indulged, while I vanished into the shadows of our family picture. I can still feel the sting of that 6th grade afternoon when I rushed home with my report card. All straight A's earned through late-night cramming and endless chores. Mom barely glanced, muttered "good job" without a spark, and buried it under junk mail. That very evening, Adam strutted in with C's and a lone B-. Dad whisked us out for ice cream to toast his progress, while my triumph moldered under the electric bill. My high school graduation loomed on June 15th, and for once I dared hope I'd shine. As valedictorian, Mom grudgingly okayed a modest after-party. But 3 days before, Adam twisted his ankle in a casual soccer scrimmage. Nothing dire, just ice and rest. Boom, my party vanished so they could pamper him through recovery. The night after graduation, I huddled alone in my room, honors cords still draped on me, scrolling through friends' family celebration posts on social media. While I rode the public bus to my part-time gig at 16, Adam scored a shiny new Ford Mustang for his sweet 16. He needs reliable wheels for his packed schedule, Dad justified when I dared question it. My honor society and volunteering? Apparently not worth the gas. The ultimate slap was surrendering my bedroom to visiting relatives, while Adam's domain stayed sacred. Girls adapt better. Mom dismissed my protests. I'd return to my stuff shuffled, my bed claimed by an aunt or cousin, relegating me to the living room couch during visits. Adam never budged an inch for anyone. Amid these relentless reminders of my second-class status, I ignited a passion for architecture and design. I'd doodle structures during school lunches, craft cardboard models in the garage while they fawned over Adam, and devour library books on iconic architects. This became my lifeline, the one realm where I ruled, valued even if just by me. College apps hit, and I poured my soul into essays and interviews, bracing for zilch from my folks. It paid off. A partial scholarship to a top university's architecture program, covering 60% of tuition but leaving a gaping hole. We can't swing it, Dad deadpanned over my aid package. Saving for Adam's future. The kicker? Adam barely cared about school, scraping by with middling grades. Yet they'd stashed a college fund for me too, though they never breathed a word. The bombshell dropped in my sophomore year. Juggling 3 jobs, scraping by on 4 hours sleep to hold a 3.8 GPA, I dragged home for spring break to find Adam fresh from a month-long European jaunt, bankrolled by them. When I grilled them on affording that but not my tuition, Mom slipped. They dipped into your college money for Adam's personal growth. The explosion that followed was apocalyptic. For the first time, I unleashed 2 decades of bottled rage. The glaring bias, the shrugging off of my needs and feats, the sheer injustice of raiding funds meant for me. If you hate our parenting, get out, Dad bellowed, veins bulging not from guilt, but from my audacity to upend the status quo. Fine, I shot back, a eerie calm flooding me. I will. I'll never erase the memory of stuffing my life into black trash bags. No one bothering to scrounge real luggage. Adam lurked in his doorway, face blank as I hauled load after load to my beat-up Honda Civic. My parents barricaded in their room, doors slammed shut. A final gut punch showing how little my exit mattered. As I peeled out of the driveway at 20, I stole one last glance at the house where I'd never belonged. Adam hovered at the window, hand half lifted. But he didn't chase after to bid farewell. Those initial months post-exile were my rock bottom. Savings vaporized on gas, grub, basics. My Honda morphed into wheels and roof. I'd rotate Walmart lots nightly, stashing my student ID and books under seats, faking normalcy by day while roughing it homeless after dark. Gym showers, restroom changes, bargain bin meals became my grind. Extra shifts helped, but in that pricey college burg, housing stayed a pipe dream. My scholarship, once a godsend, just scraped tuition. Zero for survival now that I flew solo. After almost 3 months teetering on the edge, a classmate caught me rinsing hair in the architecture building's sink. Lucia, a spirited exchange student with compassionate eyes, didn't recoil. Instead, she extended a hand. She and 3 roomies had an off-campus pad with an unused storage nook. "It's tiny," she confessed, "but windowed and we can squeeze in a mattress." That closet-sized space felt like royalty after car curling. They charged peanuts for rent and finally I stretched out flat without contortions. The setup wasn't luxe, but it delivered the security I craved. It was during a midnight studio grind that Professor Eleanor Thompson appeared. She'd lingered for senior reviews and spotted me solo, tweaking designs post-classmate exodus. Rather than a quick scan, she dragged over a chair. "I've tracked your work," she said, eyeing my intricate drafts. "Raw talent, but more resilience. Your designs tackle layers of issues at once, like you're wired for scarcity." Her words struck so deep, tears surged unbidden. She didn't pry, just handed a tissue and her card. "I know folks at Westlake Architecture. They want an intern who innovates. Pays slim but experience? Gold." That gig saved me. Slogging 20 hours weekly there, plus other jobs and full classes, drained me dry. But it fueled my fire. The humble stipend, mixed with side hustles, upgraded me from storage to a real bedroom share. Juggling was brutal. Class to campus work to internship, homework till 2 to 3 a.m., scant sleep, then repeat. Weekends, coffee shop drudgery. I teetered on collapse from fatigue, but quitting, validating my parents' doubts, was intolerable. Graduation dawned. I strode the stage with honors, my name echoing to crickets where peers got roars. Professor Eleanor rose, clapping thunderously from faculty row, echoed by Lucia and roomies. Their cheers pierced the void, though those vacant family seats stabbed deep. Post-ceremony, Eleanor introduced her hubby James. A warm software was who radiated the paternal kindness I'd never known. "We're throwing a low-key bash at home," she invited. "Nothing flash, but join us." That spontaneous dinner with Eleanor, James, Lucia, and a handful of allies sparked the traditions of my found family. My career's dawn was gritty. Starter architecture roles paid peanuts and I launched from zero, no parental parachute. I scrimped, crammed with roomies, moonlighted to stack cash. Each bump up felt epic, each rave review a badge of defiance. James and Lucia became my anchors, venting over home-cooked meals after a snubbed promotion, toasting my first design award with bubbly. Holidays birthed fresh rituals, soothing the ache of kin rejection. On Eleanor's nudge, I started therapy with Dr. Mitchell to unpack childhood scars and desertion. He drilled that the bias wasn't my flaw, their baggage, not mine. Sessions armed me to wrestle fury and sorrow. Though mending stretched endless, no shortcuts. Through the storm, I laser-focused on crafting my destiny. Saving fiercely, pinching pennies, betting on tomorrow. By late 20s, I'd climbed to senior designer at a powerhouse firm, snagged my license, forged a rock-solid rep. 8 years post-banishment, I conquered the unthinkable. After grueling hunts, lone battles, haggling, I snared my dream. A gorgeous 3-bed lakeside gem beyond city limits. It begged for TLC but structure solid, spot prime. Wielding my skills, I revamped room by room, molding it into my vision's masterpiece. Key day. Pure raw emotion. Alone in the bare living room, sun slashing through vast windows onto oak planks, I crumbled in sobs, floored by the ascent. From car sleeping to owning a pad elders covet, I'd forged a life my parents swore I'd never grasp. Throughout these years, the utter silence from my biological family cut deep, yet it also set me free. No birthday calls, no holiday cards, not even a single text to see if I was still breathing. Sometimes that void stung worse than outright rejection ever could. Their indifference hammered home just how little I'd ever meant to them. Other times, the space felt like a shield, letting me flourish without their endless erosion of my self-worth. Every Thanksgiving, Christmas, and holiday turned into a chance to forge unbreakable ties with my chosen family. James and Eleanor would throw these growing gatherings, pulling in friends, colleagues, and other loners cut off from traditional roots. Lucia, now my closest confidant, wove in rituals from her heritage, crafting these vibrant, multicultural feasts that rang truer than the strained, fake cheer of my childhood holidays. By my early 30s, I'd carved out a life brimming with purposeful work, real connections, and a home that screamed stability and triumph. The path had been brutal, but I'd clawed my way to peace amid their desertion. Or so I believed, until a bolt from the blue phone call demolished the walls I'd so painstakingly built. It was a routine Tuesday evening in April when my phone buzzed with an unknown number. Normally, I'd ignore it and let voicemail handle it, but some gut instinct made me pick up. The voice on the line froze me to my core, despite the balmy spring breeze. "Cassandra, it's Mom." 7 years of dead air shattered by those 3 casual words, as if we'd chatted just yesterday. My fingers clamped around the phone, heart pounding with a rush of adrenaline I never saw coming. "I'm surprised to hear from you," I finally choked out, my voice holding steady despite the storm inside. "Well, it's been a while," she shot back, the understatement so massive it could have been laughable anywhere else. No sorry for the endless absence. No nod to how they'd booted me out. Just "it's been a while." As if we'd drifted apart from packed calendars, not from raw family wounds. "How are you?" she pressed on, her cheer fake and forced. "Are you still doing that drawing thing? Architecture, right?" "I'm a licensed architect now," I fired back, wondering if she'd even glanced me up online before dialing. A quick Google would have revealed my career highs, the awards my designs snagged, the magazine spotlights on my projects. "That's nice, dear," she brushed off, obviously bored. "So, I have some exciting news. Adam is engaged. Her name is Bridget Williams. Her father owns that chain of luxury car dealerships across the Northwest, the Prestige Auto Group. You know, the one. They're a wonderful family, very connected. Of course, Adam had snagged a match from money. The golden boy cruising on his lucky streak, it seemed. "That's nice." I mirrored her dismissal, my mind racing. "Why call now after all this?" "The wedding is planned for June 12th, she barreled ahead, blind to my chill. "It's going to be quite the event. 3-day celebration, very exclusive." "Good for them," I said, still bracing for the real hook to drop. It hit fast. "The thing is," her voice slid into that slick sales pitch mode she saved for tough clients, "there's been a small issue with the venue. The Lakeside Country Club double booked, and the other party has seniority. We've been scrambling to find an alternative that meets Bridget's vision." A pit opened in my stomach. I saw it coming. "Your father and I saw pictures of your house online. That real estate website, what's it called? Zillow. The lake views are stunning and the property size seems perfect. We thought it would be the ideal solution to host the wedding there." The sheer nerve stole my breath. After 7 years of ghosting, after dumping me like trash, their first reach out was to hijack my home for the golden child's big day. "Let me get this straight," I said, drawing it out slow. "You want to host Adam's wedding at my house? With how many guests?" "Around 150, she tossed out like it was nothing, as if asking for a pinch of salt. "The ceremony would be Friday evening, reception Saturday, and a farewell brunch Sunday. We'd need access Thursday for setup, of course." "Mom," I said, the word tasting alien after so long, "that's not going to work. This is my home, not an event venue." "It's a perfect location," she plowed on like I hadn't uttered a word. "The wedding party would need to use all 3 bedrooms. You could stay with friends for the weekend, right? The Williams are willing to pay for professional cleaning afterward." The arrogance hit like a slap, not just taking my whole place but kicking me out for 5 days. "I'm not comfortable with this," I stood firm. "I'm sorry about their venue issues, but my home isn't available." Her warmth vanished in a flash, like fog under a scorching sun. "It's time to get over the past, Cassandra. That's what family does. They help each other. Adam would do it for you. Would he?" I shot back, truly wondering if she bought her own lie. The same Adam who watched me stuff my life into garbage bags and stayed silent? The Adam who pocketed my college fund. That was years ago, she snapped. You always were one to hold grudges. This is your chance to be part of the family again. I've built my own family, I countered. People who actually care about me. My answer is no. I heard shuffling, then my father's voice boomed on, rough and commanding as always. Cassandra, don't be difficult. This wedding is important for connections that could benefit all of us. All of us. Dad, you haven't spoken to me in 7 years. You threw me out. You don't get to suddenly appear and make demands about my property. There could be consequences to refusing. He growled, dropping to that old menacing whisper from childhood clashes. The Williams family is very influential. Are you actually threatening me right now? I gasped, stunned at the unchanged ugliness. I'm an adult with my own life. Your threats have no power anymore. Silence hung. Then Adam's voice cut in. Cass, it's me. My brother's tone after all these years crashed over me like a rogue wave, stirring up buried feelings. Despite the mess, there'd been flickers in our kid days. Rare moments when we were just brother and sister, not rivals in a twisted game. Hey Adam, I softened a touch. It would really help us out, he mumbled, sounding awkward. Bridget's really stressed about finding a new venue. I understand that's difficult, I conceded. But having 150 strangers in my personal space isn't something I'm willing to do. Surely with the Williams family connections, they can find an appropriate venue. Mom and Dad said you'd probably be difficult about it, he sighed. Look, just think about it. Okay. I have thought about it, I held strong. The answer is no. Congratulations on your engagement, but my home is not available. I hung up, hands trembling from the adrenaline and dredged-up pain. Minutes later, texts from Mom exploded. Guilt bombs mixed with fury. I muted them, poured a glass of wine, and tried to unpack the bizarre ambush and insane ask. That night, I rang James and Lucia, desperate to spill. They listened with fierce empathy as I relived it all, mirroring my shock at their gall. The nerve of them, Lucia raged. 7 years of nothing and then they want to use your house. They always did see me as a resource rather than a person, I said, therapy's wisdom cutting through. I'm just surprised they think I would actually agree. Are you okay? James probed, spotting the emotional quake. Hearing from them after all this time must have been jarring regardless of what they wanted. I'm rattled, I confessed, but also weirdly validated. All these years of therapy talking about their toxic behavior, and then they prove everything I've said with one phone call. None of us knew then that this call was just the first shot in a brewing war. My parents had never taken no from me before, and they sure as hell weren't starting now, not for something as crucial as Adam's time to wealth. The next morning my phone drowned in voicemails and texts, not just from them, but from aunts, uncles, and cousins silent for years. They'd rallied the whole clan to break me. Your poor brother has been planning this wedding for months, Aunt Susan wailed in her message. Family needs to come first, Cassandra. We've all been wondering where you've been all these years, Uncle Robert's text preached, ignoring how no one had checked in post-eviction. It's time to come back to the fold and do the right thing. Everyone hammered the same beat. I was selfish for denying my home. I clung to kid grudges. I needed to mature and aid kin. Not a soul mentioned the abandonment or why they couldn't snag another spot. As I muted my phone for work focus, an email pinged from a stranger. About the wedding venue sister-in-law-to-be. Bridget Williams, Adam's bride-to-be, was taking her swing at me. Her note was a sly masterpiece, starting with pity for whatever family issues existed in the past, then twisting to how healing it'd be to mend via their love fest. She painted her dream. Floating lanterns on the lake, string quartets on the grass. She gushed over my quaint home, though pics proved it grander than she let on. We would of course compensate you for any inconvenience, she added, though I'm sure the joy of reuniting with family and being part of our special day would be the greatest reward. Her vibe reeked of superiority and strings pulling, fed by my parents' spin. She closed with a veiled jab about her dad's ties to regional architecture firms. That email sparked me to scour social media on the wedding. What I unearthed chilled me. Their Instagram was up, and recent posts flaunted shots snapped from my property's edge. Someone had stalked my place without a whisper. Worse, the linked wedding site boasted elegant script over my backyard lake view, touting a 3-day bash at a family estate. No public address, but a locked guest section likely spilled it. The itinerary invaded everything. Thursday set up to Sunday brunch, with events sprawling my grounds demanding house access. They'd even claimed my master as bridal suite, guest rooms for VIPs, and my living/dining as party zones. All schemed without my say-so. The invasion hit like a gut punch, my lines not just breached but obliterated. I dialed Adam straight, skipping the parents for a direct showdown. "Why are there photos of my property on your wedding website?" I demanded as he picked up. "And why does it look like you've already planned to use my home when I explicitly said no?" His pause screamed guilt before words did. "Look, Cass, it wasn't my idea. Mom and Dad convinced Bridget it would work out." "Work out how?" I demanded, my voice sharp with disbelief. I said no, clearly and unambiguously. Adam sighed heavily, the weight of it crackling through the line. "They think if they just show up with everyone, you won't make a scene. You'll feel pressured to go along with it, rather than turn away 150 people, including Bridget's family." The calculation was so coldly manipulative that it momentarily took my breath away. They planned to ambush me, to force my hand by creating a situation where I would be the villain for enforcing my own boundaries. "They told Bridget and her parents that you're thrilled to host, but like to play hard to get initially," Adam admitted, sounding uncomfortable. "They're convinced you'll come around, especially once you see how important this connection is for the family." "And you went along with this?" I asked, hurt despite everything. "You know what they did to me, Adam. You were there." "I didn't have much choice," he said weakly. "You know how they are. And Bridget's family is, well, they're used to getting what they want." "So are our parents," I replied coldly. "But not this time. I want you to understand something clearly, Adam. I will not be hosting your wedding. Not by choice and certainly not by ambush. If you all show up here expecting to take over my property, you will be turned away. I will not be manipulated or bullied. Not anymore." "Cass, please," he started, but I cut him off. "No. For once in your life, you need to deal with disappointment, find another venue, and tell our parents that their plan has failed. I know about it now, and I will be prepared." I ended the call, hands shaking with anger and anxiety. The audacity of their plan was stunning, yet completely in character for my parents. They had always steamrolled over my feelings and boundaries, always assumed they could control situations through manipulation and social pressure. But I wasn't a powerless child or vulnerable young adult anymore. That evening, I had an emergency session with my therapist, Dr. Mitchell, who validated my feelings of violation and anger. "This is an extraordinary breach of boundaries," she agreed. "Your reaction is completely appropriate. The question now is how you want to respond." "Part of me wants to just leave town that weekend," I admitted. "Avoid the confrontation entirely. But another part feels like this is a defining moment. If I run away, I'm still letting them control me through fear." "Those are both valid options," she assured me. "There's no single right way to handle this. What matters is that you make a choice that aligns with your values and protects your well-being." After the therapy session, I invited James, Lucia, and my neighbor Thomas over for an emergency dinner meeting. Thomas, a retired judge who had become a friend and occasional mentor, listened intently as I explained the situation. "This is trespassing, plain and simple," he stated firmly. "You have every legal right to prevent unauthorized use of your property." "I can't believe they would go this far," Lucia said, outraged on my behalf. "To plan an ambush wedding? Who does that?" "People who have never respected boundaries," James observed. "The question is, what do you want to do about it?" The four of us brainstormed options late into the night. Each suggestion was considered, from the simple act of being away that weekend with a locked house to more creative responses. What began as a defensive strategy gradually evolved into something more meaningful. A way to not just protect myself, but to make a statement about who I had become despite my family's treatment. "Whatever you decide," Thomas said as the evening concluded, "we'll support you. You're not alone in this." Looking at the three concerned faces around my dining table, I felt a surge of gratitude for the family I had chosen. Unlike my biological relatives, these people respected my autonomy, valued my feelings, and showed up when I needed them. With their support, I began to formulate a plan that would not only thwart my parents' scheme, but transform it into something meaningful on my own terms. The next morning, I contacted Diane Hargrove, an attorney recommended by Thomas. She specialized in property law and had experience with restraining orders and trespassing issues. After explaining my situation, she laid out my legal options. "Your property rights are quite clear," she explained. "No one can use your land or home without permission, family or otherwise. We can file a cease and desist letter immediately, making your position official." "What about the day itself?" I asked. "If they ignore the legal warning and show up anyway, we can coordinate with local police in advance," she advised. "File documentation explaining the potential trespassing situation. That way, if you need to call them on the day, they'll already understand the context." Following her advice, I began the process of legally protecting my property. The cease and desist letter was drafted and sent by certified mail to my parents, Adam and Bridget's parents. I also filed the appropriate documentation with the local police department, explaining the potential for a large group of uninvited people attempting to access my property. But legal protection was just the beginning. If my family was determined enough to plan an ambush wedding, they might be willing to create a scene regardless of legal warnings. I needed physical security measures as well. I contacted a reputable security company that specialized in event management. After explaining the unusual circumstances, they recommended a temporary fencing solution that could be installed the day before and removed after the weekend, along with 2 professional security guards stationed at the entrance to my property. "We'll handle any confrontations professionally," the security manager assured me. "Our team is trained to de-escalate situations while firmly enforcing access restrictions." Next came documentation. I installed additional security cameras covering all approaches to my property, ensuring that any attempted trespassing would be recorded. These feeds could be monitored remotely, giving me awareness of the situation, even if I chose not to be physically present. While these protective measures gave me peace of mind, they still left me in a defensive position. After discussion with my support circle, I decided to transform this challenge into an opportunity for something positive. James was the one who suggested involving Hope Harbor, a local charity supporting homeless youth that I had been volunteering with for the past few years. My own experience with homelessness had made their mission particularly meaningful to me, and I had been helping with their housing assistance program. "What if," James proposed, "instead of just blocking your family's event, you host a legitimate event of your own? Something meaningful that reflects your values?" The idea resonated deeply. I contacted Maria Sanchez, the executive director of Hope Harbor, and explained the unusual situation. Rather than being put off by the circumstances, she was enthusiastic about the possibility. "We've been wanting to host a spring fundraiser," she said. "Your lakeside property would be perfect for a garden party type event. Nothing too large. Maybe 60 to 70 people, focused on raising awareness and funds for our new transitional housing project." The synchronicity was perfect. Instead of 150 wedding guests invading my space, I would welcome supporters of a cause close to my heart, people who understood the value of safe housing and respected boundaries. I reached out to my neighbors as well, explaining the situation and ensuring they were aware of both the potential disruption from my family and my alternative plans. To my surprise and gratitude, they rallied around me. Several offered to help with the charity event, while others promised to alert me if they noticed any suspicious activity around my property in the days leading up to the planned date. Taking the plan a step further, I contacted local media about covering the charity fundraiser. 2 local news outlets and a popular community blog expressed interest in the human interest story of a successful architect hosting an event to support homeless youth. While I didn't share the full family drama with the reporters, the scheduled media presence would add another layer of protection against my parents' plans. With the charity event scheduled, I worked with Maria to create banners and signage that would make it immediately clear to anyone arriving that this was an official Hope Harbor fundraiser, not a wedding venue. Large welcome signs, information booths about youth homelessness, and donation stations would be set up at the entrance to my property. Throughout this planning period, I continued working with Dr. Mitchell to prepare emotionally for the potential confrontation. We role-played various scenarios, practiced grounding techniques for managing anxiety, and developed clear scripts for what I would say if faced with my parents' manipulation attempts. Remember, Dr. Mitchell emphasized, you are setting a healthy boundary. Their reaction to that boundary is not your responsibility. You can be firm without being cruel, clear without being combative. James, Lucia, and several other close friends arranged to be present on the day, creating a supportive buffer between me and any family drama that might unfold. They divided responsibilities, ensuring that both the legitimate charity event could proceed smoothly and any unwanted visitors could be intercepted before reaching me. 2 days before the planned date, I received an unexpected text from my cousin Megan, the only family member who had occasionally kept in touch over the years, though always cautiously to avoid angering my parents. Just heard about the wedding plans, she wrote. Wanted to warn you they're still planning to show up at your place around 3 p.m. on Friday. About 30 people coming early for setup, including caterers. The rest arriving Saturday morning. They're telling everyone you've finally seen reason. Be prepared. I thanked her for the warning, though it only confirmed what I already suspected. Despite the legal notices and lack of response from me, my parents were proceeding with their plan, apparently convinced their show of force would overcome my resistance. The night before the planned wedding day, I checked and double-checked all preparations. The temporary fencing had been installed, creating a clear demarcation of my property boundaries with a single controlled entry point. Security cameras were functioning, monitoring services activated. The security team would arrive early morning, followed by the Hope Harbor volunteers to set up the fundraiser. As I walked through my quiet house that evening, I felt a complex mixture of emotions: sadness for the family relationships that had been irreparably damaged, anger at the continued disrespect, but also pride in the person I had become despite it all. Whatever happened tomorrow, I would face it on my terms, surrounded by people who genuinely cared for me, supporting a cause that mattered. I fell asleep that night with a surprising sense of calm. For perhaps the first time since childhood, I was fully standing in my power, refusing to be diminished or controlled by my family's toxic patterns. Tomorrow would be challenging, but it would also be liberating. Friday dawned clear and mild, perfect weather for an outdoor event. I woke early, a mixture of anticipation and nervousness fluttering in my stomach. By 7 a.m., the security team had arrived and established their positions at the property entrance. By 8, the first Hope Harbor volunteers were setting up tables, arranging flowers, and placing signage throughout the front lawn and driveway. Maria arrived with a team of youth program participants, all wearing Hope Harbor t-shirts and eager to help with the fundraiser preparations. Watching them transform my property into a welcoming event space filled me with a sense of rightness. This was how my home should be used, for something meaningful and positive, not as a battleground for family manipulation. Around 10 a.m., the first media representatives arrived, a reporter and photographer from the local newspaper, doing a preview of the fundraiser for the weekend edition. They interviewed Maria about Hope Harbor's mission, took photos of the setup, and asked me about my involvement with the organization. As someone who'd stared down housing insecurity myself, I explained, treading carefully through my personal scars without bearing them all. I understand how crucial stable housing is for young people trying to build their futures. Hosting this event was my raw way to give back, to shine a light on an issue that lurks invisible in our community, eating away at lives in the shadows. By noon, the fundraiser stood fully armed and breathtaking. 60 folding chairs angled toward a modest podium by the lake, the water's glassy surface mirroring a heart-stopping backdrop. Booths spilling facts on youth homelessness stats and Hope Harbor's lifelines snaked along the driveway. A refreshment zone tempted with donated pastries and steaming coffee. String lights dangled between ancient trees, poised to ignite an enchanted glow as dusk crept in. Everything pulsed ready for the official kickoff at 2 p.m., just 1 hour before my family's schemed invasion, per my cousin's insider tip. My backup crew locked in, James and Lucia flanking the entrance like sentinels. Other friends scattered across the grounds, eyes sharp. I felt braced, wired for the storm brewing. At 2:45, as the fundraiser sparked to life with about 40 souls milling about, the security radio crackled. Several vehicles stacking up at the gate. Peering at my phone's camera feed, my breath hitched. My parents' sleek SUV spearheading a convoy of cars and catering trucks. "They're here," I whispered to Maria, who gripped my arm like an anchor. "We've got this," she vowed. "Stick to the plan." I watched the feed, heart thundering, as my father stormed the guard, jabbing fingers with that smug demand for instant surrender. Even muted, his stance screamed entitlement. The guard held steady, jabbing toward the charity signs, no doubt spelling out they weren't cleared. My mother piled on, her wild waves growing frantic against the stone wall of denial. Behind them, Adam and a sharp-dressed woman, Bridget I guessed, climbed out with an older pair, probably her folks. More vehicles piled up, birthing a swarm of bewildered guests in fancy threads. Channel 2 reports wedding guests trying lakeside access. The radio spat. My waterfront backup guard was earning every dime. "Time to show face?" James murmured, Lucia at his side. I nodded, sucking in air like it might vanish. "Let's go." We strode out cool toward the boiling gate clash. As we closed in, my father's bark cut through. "This is a private family event. We have permission from the homeowner." "No, you don't," I declared, voice slicing clean. He wheeled, shock flashing before hardening to steel. "Cassandra, enough games. Guests are arriving. Open the gate now." "This isn't a game," I fired back, steady as rock. "This is a real charity fundraiser for Hope Harbor, helping homeless youth. Planned for weeks. These are my guests." I waved to Maria, who'd flanked us. "I'm Maria Sanchez, Executive Director of Hope Harbor," she chimed in, pro as hell. "We're so grateful to Cassandra for hosting our spring fundraiser. Interested in donating to our programs?" My mother's cheeks blazed crimson. "This is ridiculous. We've planned Adam's wedding here. Caterers are waiting. People flew in from out of state. I never agreed to any wedding." I stood tall. "I flat out refused on that call. You got the cease and desist." My stance was crystal. "This is my private home, not a venue. We're family," my father snarled, voice dipping to menace. "You can't do this to your brother." "Family respects boundaries," I countered. "Family doesn't ambush homes. Family doesn't ditch someone then demand their space years later." A news van screeched up amid the swelling guest mob. The TV crew, here for charity fluff, now snagged on the live wire mess. My father clocked the lens, softening his edge, eyes like daggers. "Clearly a misunderstanding," he smoothed, for the peanut gallery. "We can hash this privately, Cassandra." "No misunderstanding," I pushed. "You schemed to storm my place despite my no. You lied to Adam's fiancée and her clan that I was in. You duped these guests." I swept a hand at the baffled crowd. "Your call, not mine." Bridget shoved up, face twisted in fury. "Do you know how humiliating this is? Our whole circle's here. Rehearsal dinner tonight. I'm sorry you were lied to. I meant it. But blame the liars who swore this spot was locked when it wasn't." An poised older woman, Bridget's mom, no doubt, chimed in. "Bridget, what's going on? Where's that estate from the photos?" "This is it, mother," Bridget snapped, taut as wire. "Apparently a complication." "Complication?" A silver fox in a sharp suit, her dad loomed. "You mean the venue wasn't secured? All this without permission?" He pivoted to my parents, ice forming. "Did you misrepresent this to us, Richard? Martha, you've dragged 150 people to a no-go zone." My father scrambled. "Family matter, Harold. Just Cassandra's drama. She's always difficult." "I'm not difficult," I clarified loud. "I'm holding boundaries on my property. I never agreed from day one." The reporter inched nearer, hooked on the spectacle. My mother spotted, slapped on a fake grin. "Perhaps discuss privately," she motioned from the gawkers. "Nothing to discuss," I shut down. "Hope Harbor rolls on. Find another spot for the wedding," Bridget near shrieked. "Everything's here. Flowers, caterers, guests." "I get the upset," I nodded. "But I didn't make this. I set boundaries, they got trampled." Adam, mute till now, edged forward. Shockingly, no pylon. "She's right," he muttered. "Mom, Dad," she said no. Clear as day. "We shouldn't have pushed." My parents gaped in sync. "Adam, your wedding," Mom hissed. Don't side with her now. Not about sides, he squirmed. It's truth. We knew she didn't want it. Came anyway. Wrong. Adam's flip shattered the air. Bridget whirled. You knew this could blow and said nothing? The mess fractured, Bridget's clan grilling Adam, my parents hurting baffled guests. Through the whirlwind I held steady at my line, James and Lucia as pillars, Maria's team a solid backdrop. The split screamed. My blood family's chaos versus my chosen one's rock. We have caterer contracts, Dad grasped at straws. Liable for thousands in cancels. Tough, I said. Consequence of booking a spot you never had rights to. Reality crashed. The party scattered. Guests slunk to cars. Caterers boxed gear. Bridget's parents hauled her off. Adam trailing in heated whispers. My brother glanced back once, eyes swirling apology, regret, maybe respect. My parents lingered last. Dad's face a mask of fury, Mom's eyes spilling rage tears. You've ruined everything, she venom spat. Hope you're happy. I didn't ruin squat, I leveled. I guarded my lines, learned despite your raising. They stormed off wordless, leaving an eerie hush. Security confirmed. Wedding horde cleared. Charity could breathe free. Heading back with James, Lucia, Maria, a weird lift buoyed me. The dreaded showdown? Done. I'd stayed me unbent, composed. Just held my ground. You did it, Lucia breathed, hand squeeze. We did, I amended, gratitude flooding from my unflinching crew. The Hope Harbor bash surged on, the drama spiking curiosity. By twilight, lights twinkling, tunes drifting, we doubled our goal for youth homes. Lakeside, seeing my place alive with purpose, peace crashed over me like a wave. Later, guests thinning, Adam texted. Can we talk tomorrow? Just us. I stared, then tapped. Coffee shop on Main. 11 a.m. Whatever family fallout loomed, I'd meet it my way, strong, self-honored. The control cycle? Shattered, maybe forever. The morning post-clash broke hushed and serene. I stirred awake, oddly at ease, like a lifelong burden had vaporized. Security gone, fence vanished, property normal. Yet transformed, sight of my boundary triumph. Local news hit online. Hope Harbor win, nods to the family flare-up. Socials erupted with guest clips of the clash. Most backed my property rights. Kin smears got slapped down by logic on unpermitted weddings. The event shown as a smash, funds and buzz-boosting youth aid. Maria rang thanks, hype snagged fresh sponsors. From the near assault, good bloomed, flipping poison to progress at 11 a.m. I stepped into that cozy little coffee shop on Main Street, heart pounding as I headed for my meeting with Adam. There he was, already hunkered down in a dim corner booth, his face drawn and shadowed, like a man who'd just woken from a nightmare. As I got closer, something hit me. He didn't look like the untouchable golden boy anymore, but someone grappling with harsh truths that were tearing him apart. Thanks for coming, he muttered as I slid into the seat across from him. I was shocked when you reached out, I confessed, scanning his expression for any trace of our parents' toxic grip on him. He let out a deep, weary sigh, raking his fingers through his disheveled hair. Yesterday opened my eyes in the most gut-wrenching way possible. How? I probed carefully, witnessing how Mom and Dad pulled strings on everyone, even me and Bridget, like puppets in their twisted game. It was as if a veil lifted, revealing a lifelong web I'd been trapped in, too blinded to see. I stayed quiet, giving him room to unravel his thoughts without me cutting in. Oh, and the wedding's on hold, by the way, he dropped casually, but his voice cracked. Bridget and we need to sort through this mess. I'm sorry if what I did stirred up trouble for you, I offered, though doubt flickered in my chest about how sincere I really felt. No, don't apologize, he shot back urgently. You were absolutely right to step in like that. The sorry should be mine. His gaze locked onto mine, intense and unflinching. I'm sorry, Cass. Not just for the wedding blowing up, but for it all. For standing by while they kicked you out and doing zilch. For soaking up their favoritism year after year. For how they crushed you our whole childhood. That apology slammed into me like a freight train. I'd replayed this showdown in my head 1,000 times, but never once pictured real regret pouring from Adam. I always knew it was messed up, he whispered, his voice trembling. The way they put me on a pedestal, those blatant double standards. As a kid, I couldn't wrap my head around it. As a teen, I was too greedy to care. reveling in the perks. By adulthood, the rut was so deep, breaking free felt like scaling a sheer cliff. You could have reached out after they tossed me aside, I countered, old pain surging up like bile, no matter how hard I tried to swallow it. I should have, he admitted, his shoulders slumping. I wanted to, but I was spineless, terrified of losing their thumbs up, their backing. It's no justification, just the ugly, pitiful reality. We sat there in heavy silence, the air thick with decades of family poison swirling between us. When did you start therapy? I ventured, spotting those telltale signs of hard-won insight. He blinked in surprise. How'd you guess? Some of what you're spilling, the breakthroughs, they scream solid therapy sessions. 3 months back, he confessed, when wedding prep ramped up and Bridget clocked my freakouts every time mom and dad meddled in choices. She nudged me toward talking it out with a pro. He flashed a wry, bitter grin. She had zero clue about the Pandora's box she was cracking open. Therapy rips the blinders off things you've dodged forever. Yeah, I nodded, my own scars flashing back. It's been a flood, he admitted, voice raw, finally grasping how screwed up our family truly is. How that poison molded us both, differently but destructively. You got scapegoated. I got gilded, but both cages were toxic. Our talk stretched on for almost 2 hours, diving deep into childhood flashbacks now refracted through grown-up lenses, swapping stories on our parents' sly manipulations, and gingerly piecing together a fragile bridge as brother and sister, not enemies. Adam spilled that his thing with Bridget was hanging by a thread. After yesterday's explosion, she got a front-row seat to the hell you've endured. Now she's second-guessing tying the knot into this nightmare. And hell, I can't fault her. What about her folks? I pressed, picturing that polished pair who'd looked horrified by my parents' antics. Mr. Williams cornered me after. Adam winced. Said he'd never witnessed such vile entitlement. Warned that if this was my family's vibe, he had grave doubts about his girl's shot at joy. That had to sting, I noted, feeling the echo of it. Brutal but vital, he countered. Outsiders sometimes call out the crap you've numbed yourself to. As we wrapped up, Adam hesitated, his words tentative. Could we keep in touch? I get it if you're not there yet. I waited, pulse racing. Maybe we can try, I said at last, but slow on safe turf like this with ironclad lines around our parents. Totally, he jumped in. Just us, no strings to them. I'm not pushing you to patch things up with mom and dad. Good. 'Cause that's off the table, I declared, steel in my tone. Yesterday wasn't some fluke, Adam. It was the boiling point of endless slights and schemes. I've carved out a solid life minus them, and I'm guarding it fierce. He nodded, eyes full of grasp. For whatever it's worth, you've crushed it. Yourself, your pad, your job, you're giving back. It's mind-blowing, especially from that starting line. His raw praise hit deeper than I braced for. Thanks. It was a grind, but damn worth every scar. We said goodbye with an awkward embrace, both knowing trust's rebuild was a marathon. No finish line promised. But for the first time since we were kids, a faint spark flickered, that maybe, just maybe, Adam and I could forge something real as siblings. In the weeks after, my parents unleashed petty vengeance. They fired off a stiff letter vowing lawsuits for emotional distress from the scrapped wedding. My lawyer shredded it as baseless BS. They slimed my boss with fuzzy smears on my work ethic, but my track record and creds shut that down cold. They even rallied distant kin harder against me, though our rift was already a chasm, so it barely rippled. Each jab just cemented my resolve. Distance was my lifeline. My therapist guided me through the fallout, keeping me from slipping into ancient traps, zeroing in on my bloom and the ride-or-dies who'd shown in the storm. James and Lucia stood rock solid, touching base often, toasting my boundary wins instead of rehashing the chaos. You should be incredibly proud, Lucia urged during our intimate dinner at her cozy apartment, her eyes shining with fierce admiration. Standing tall against family pressure. It's one of the toughest battles anyone ever fights. My involvement with Hope Harbor exploded after that triumphant fundraiser, pulling me deeper in. I stepped onto their advisory board, pouring in my architectural know-how for those vital housing initiatives, plus the raw, first-hand wisdom from my own battles with housing instability as a young person. That raw link between my rock-bottom struggles and my hard-won stability forged a powerful conduit, letting my old wounds fuel real change for others. Adam and I kept navigating our fragile reconnection, grabbing coffee every couple of weeks, each meetup stripping away another veil from our tangled, painful past. He ramped up his therapy dives, grappling head-on with the fallout of being the golden child, the twisted guilt, the invisible chains it wrapped around him. We were crafting something raw and real, not fully mended or utterly shattered, but stripped down honest in a way we'd never dared before. 6 months post-showdown, I threw open my doors for another gathering at home, this one intimate, just my chosen tribe, marking 5 years since I claimed this sanctuary as mine. As dusk crept in and we lounged on the deck, gazing out at the lake's shimmering calm, clinking glasses in celebration, a wave of deep, soul-stirring thankfulness washed over me for the wild ride that landed me right here. To boundaries, James declared, hoisting his glass with a grin. To chosen family, Lucia chimed in, her voice warm and steady. To scripting your own damn tale, I finished, no matter how hard others claw to rewrite it for you. The road ahead wasn't crystal clear or bump-free. Family scars don't vanish in a flash, and holding those lines isn't a single strike, but a relentless vigil. Still, I'd shown myself in the world I could anchor in my truth, shield my empire, and flip their control games into fuel for my rise. By slamming the door on hosting my brother's wedding, I'd actually unlock something epic. My breakout from those poisonous family loops. That raw freedom trumped any fake calm from caving in, outshone any hollow reunion laced with ongoing slaps. I keep nurturing and fortifying my chosen crew, those bonds rooted in real respect, true heart, and solid walls. I channel my saga to lift others who've tasted family boot-outs or street survival, alchemizing agony into action. And I stay cracked open for genuine ties with folks showing real shift like my brother, while armoring up against the ones still hooked on their mind games and power plays. Have you ever had to draw those gut-wrenching lines with your own kin? What kept you locked in when they came charging back? Drop your stories in the comments. And if this hit home, smash that like and subscribe for more raw tales on holding ground and crafting life your way. Never forget, your shine isn't dimmed by those too blind to spot it. Sometimes the fam we picked mends us deeper than the one we landed in. Thanks for riding this wave with me. I hope it arms you for pinning your epic.